Hi, my name is Veriba Midili. Thank you so much for checking out this video. In this video, there's something fun I actually want to share with you. I saw this movie. Okay, before I go right into that, I am a sucker for love stories, especially the seemingly impossible love stories that, and for a while now, I've been intrigued by the life of Esther, Esther in the Bible, Adasa, Queen Esther, and Ruth as well. But Esther's story is more, I find it more intriguing, more interesting for me. So imagine just how beautiful it is for me to now stumble upon a video on YouTube about Esther. I love YouTube. YouTube is like my favorite app. I really love watching stuff on YouTube. From tutorials to vlogs to documentaries to just about anything, everything I define. And one of the things I do that I love doing in my leisure times is seeing faith-based movies aside from vlogs. I love vlogs a lot and cooking tutorials. CCM, thank you. Okay, so and then I just saw this movie. I love faith-based movies because while I'm unwinding, I'm also getting in the scripture. I'm also getting edified. So that's like achieving two purposes with just one thing, right? So it's just like reading the Bible, but in audiovisual format, seeing people play out scripture. You know what I mean? So then I stumbled on this movie, Esther, One Night to the King, or is it A Night to the King? And oh my god, when I downloaded it, it was like 2 hours long and some minutes. And I was like, oh my god, this should be fun. I was literally anticipating, watching it, and I knew that I would learn a lot, but I really didn't see my experience. One of the things that stood out for me in seeing Esther the movie is watching scripture play out in real life. It was for that was special. It was profound. I remember I had my Bible in front of me, and when a guy came, I was like, a guy, and then the king sexes. I was like, wait, is serious that is here now? So that part is a bit confusing for me. Like, wait, is that serious? Why am I saying king sexes? And then Esther, the character used is like perfect. The story of Esther, and then there's a guy, Jesse. I like how in the movie they did like a behind the scenes telling us like where the characters are coming from, their journey. If I really said I should go into all the major details, this video would be like an hour long. But I just like want to touch on the major core lessons, core moments that stood out for me. And one, it was Esther's relationship with Mordecai. I really loved the relationship Esther and Mordecai had. It was like a father-daughter relationship. You wouldn't even to think that Esther and Mordecai isn't Esther's dad, is Esther's uncle. And then the moment when Esther was taken to the palace, I mean, she and Jesse, her friend, went to the palace one time. That time that Vashti was dethroned, they were there, they experienced that moment. And then that moment, she was like, she does not want to be queen any longer. That means Esther actually wanted to be queen. I hope you catch my drift and I'm not just disjointed thoughts all over the place. So when Esther was captured, taken to the palace forcefully, but it was for a good cause. She left her dad, and her dad, Mordecai asked her to promise her that she wouldn't bear the name Adasa in the palace, because if she bears the name Adasa, then it will be traced to her Jewish roots, and nobody must know that she's a Jew in the palace. It might probably affect her or her people. So that was when Mordecai gave her a new name, Esther of Susa, and then she was like, she would only use the name if she's taken to the palace. And that same night, she was just outside and they captured her, forcefully took her to the palace. When she got there, with other maidens as well, Esther was like a beacon of hope. That's like Nepa. Was like a beacon of hope, a beacon of strength for the other maidens that were fearful. Like, oh my god, this is the dungeon. And Esther was like, don't worry. And she tries to like make out the best out of a seemingly bad situation or an unappealing situation. Anyway, moving forward, Jesse also was captured, but unfortunately, Jesse was captured as a eunuch, and he was castrated. I find that cruel, and I mean, that is hard. And then a friend later told me, I did not read my Bible to that extent, or maybe my understanding wasn't in that aspect, that Daniel and all those Hebrew children, Meshach and Abednego and one other person, they were also eunuchs as well. They were castrated. It's really sad. Oh, thank God I was not born in that time. It's really sad. And to think that Jesse actually loved Esther, and at some point he came to Esther and asked that they should leave the palace. Everything about him changed when he got to the palace and when he became an eunuch. He was castrated. Even his looks, I guess he shaved or something, but it changed. And Esther was like, Esther really liked him, but friends. But Esther and Jesse liked him more than friends. So Esther was like, she can't leave the palace. I mean, she's loyal. She's here now. She might as well make the best out of it. And it has always been her desire to be in the palace as well. So I think she even loved the king even before she met the king. It's royalty, it's the king. You have like this, everybody wants to be a princess, right? And it's a royal and it's a noble position to be. So talking about the night with the king, what stood out for me again was the love story of Esther and the king. Oh my god. I'm trying to go back to that moment when Esther had an encounter with the king. She read for the king one night. She got favor. She received favor in the sight of the eunuch whose scared she was, a guy. And that one preferred her because she was knowledgeable. She could read. And then even before she had like that one night to the king experience, a guy took her in, and this time it was like, you are not going in as a queen, a princess or whatever. You're going in as a servant to read to the king. So she read the story of, she was first of all like reading through one of the scrolls randomly, and then she stopped reading and then she started reciting, recounting the story of Jacob and Rachel and Leah to the king, and then that got the king's curiosity. And then the king was like, maybe sometime you will also read me a story. And that time she was enamored by the king. Like, the king is majestic, beautiful man, sculpted in all the right places and everything in between. I mean, that moment is special. So then fast forward to their actual love story that night with the king now recognized that even before she now had her own night with the king, she was already enamored, she was already dreaming about the king in her heart. And then she was counting down to when she would actually meet the king. And then Again was like telling her that it's only been few days. And then she was like, that few days feels like 8,000s of years, that surely if the king took interest in her, the king should have called for her, summoned her. But it didn't happen that way. But she finally got that chance. Esther finally got that chance, opportunity to be with the king. And she didn't go like the other ladies, the other maidens. One of them that I saw in the movie, she went heavily decked out in gold, jewelries and all. But when she went, she dressed simply but elegantly, royally. And she had like a single bracelet on. I think it was a bracelet, one pendant kind of thing. Like a diamond, but it's symbolic to where she came from. So it's a gift Mordecai gave her when she was young, and it had like a lineage, something. So when she now got there, before the king could recognize her, the king was like, "Why do you come to me dressed like this?" From all appearances, she came simply dressed, and the king was like, "Why would you do that?" And then she was like, she came dressed simply, but she had something that is more of worth. She gave it to the king that her father taught her that when she comes to the king, that she should come with a gift rather than wanting to receive something. She should come with a gift. I mean, that's a quote, a line to hold on to, a thought there. So she gave the king that, and I think that was when the king recognized that she shall continue that the story of Jacob, blah blah blah, and then the king was like, "Oh, that what could be more precious if he wants to like give her something, like maybe like the kingdom." And then she was like, "I'd rather you give me your heart." And that part, I'm not showing it now, but that part really touched me. And then she was like, instead of a kingdom, that she wants his heart. And then the king was like, "Teach me your ways, tell me about your people." And then Esther cried in that moment, because that moment I'm having goosebumps. And Esther was like, "It is the glory of God to conceal a matter, to conceal a thing, and it is the honor of kings to seek it out." And then the king was like, "Then marry me." Yeah, that moment was precious. Whew, and that was how their love story started. The king loved Esther so much, but what we king. So I'm going to fast forward. I really think you should see the movie so you get the full extent, you get all the gists and BTS. So another moment that stood out for me was that part that the Jews, Haman plotted against the Jews. Haman is like one egoistic, opportunist, cruel, evil, conceited man. That's a lot of words to describe someone, and I think it does not even do justice to the height of cruelty he exhibited. he wanted to like wipe out the Jews, men, women, children, just for one economic advantage. So you shall know how the story goes. But the part that stood out for me in that movie, I keep saying part that stood out for me, was when Mordecai sent word to Esther via Jesse and said, maybe you are here for a time like this, and don't think that because you're in the palace that means you will be saved. No, that if your entire tribe, if all the Jews are wiped out, it will surely affect you too. You know, the king has the idea that Esther is a Jew. You know, for all the king knows, he thought that Esther is Esther of Susa and not Adasa, a Jewish woman. So Esther defied protocol. She went to the king. That part was amazing, astounding in the movie. She ran in the rain, got into the hall. The council members were there, the council were there, and it was a time that they were heavy on protocol. This should be done, that shouldn't be done. This is how our forefathers do things. And before that time, prior to that time, Esther had a misunderstanding with the king. The king saw her with someone. The king was on the battlefront, and he, when you are in love, you want to be with your lover, right? So the king and Memucan, the general of the king's army, they went home ahead of time. And then when the king was about to enter the palace, he saw Esther with a cloak, this Morgana cloak in Merlin, and Esther was talking to someone. And when Esther was about to leave, her pendants fell to the floor, and the king saw that, and the king was disheartened. That in his mind, he thought maybe Esther was seeing someone, but Esther was with Mordecai at that time. But she couldn't, unravel that misunderstanding to the king, because if she does that, then the king would know that she's a Jew, and that might affect her people. So rather than just to earn the king's favor again, she could have as well said, oh no, that is not it, I mean this, I mean that, but she rather held that information just to save her own people. So it's even more profound that she now risked her life, and she was like, if I perish, I perish. That moment when she wanted to go and see the king. In the rain, she ran, she walked in there, approached the king's, the mounted stage for the king, and people there were like, Mordecai was also there. It was like a full all. So they were like, oh my God, what is going to happen to this woman? She's surely going to die. And then Haman was like, she comes into the council unsummoned. And then one of the guards already brought out a sword to strike her down. And the king stood up. And the king, and you know, they still have like bad blood, a bit of bad blood. But love is still there. So it's really mattered to me. It really touched me that the king looks beyond their misunderstanding, and he chose love over protocol. I mean, the greatest gift of all is love. The king chose. I mean, the king has like raised his scepter towards you. That means you've like gained his favor. So Esther gained favor. The king caught her just in time, and then gave her opportunity to present that petition. And that petition, she now invited the king and Haman, because Haman is like already the prince general or something like that, to a feast. And at the feast, Esther started with, how we ladies do, beating around the bush. And then the king was like, is this your petition? That she just go ahead and state why she's a Jew. So she now divulged, how someone is plotting, Haman is plotting, she's a Jew and all. And Haman was like, what, is this a joke? The king too was like confused, like, what is happening here? How can you be a Jew? And then she had like one last evidence to show our tribe, to convince the king fully that she's a Jew. You remember that pendant? So she brought it out to the light, and so showing stars. Apparently, I think not everyone can see the stars, because Haman didn't see it, and the king so at first appeared as if he couldn't see it. So Esther was like, it's just like when you try so hard to chase the boss and you don't end up meeting the boss. So at that point, she was already defeated. So she just went back to her seat, because they didn't believe her. So she sat down, and the king stood up and went outside, because the king too, I don't know what was running through his mind, but from his countenance it was obvious that he was disappointed. So he went out. Haman now seized that moment to mock Esther. Now went and was like, oh, did you think I would beg you? Did you think I would be like, your majesty? He was now circling around Esther's back, whispering menacingly into her ears, did you think I would beg you that, oh, forgive me, your highness? And Esther at that time, her courage had already crumbled, her poise, everything was all gone, her courage, she was defeated, she was crying, broken, dejected. And then Haman now seized her by the throat. I mean, what effrontery. Haman is someone that over bloated ego, or what should I even call it? And at that point, the king just came in, and king was just seized him by the throat. I was like, "Will you also lie with the king, with the queen, in my presence?" The guards came in, took him, confiscated him, and then one of the elders there, one man, I think an elder, one of the royalties, was like, Haman has dug a gallows for Mordecai. And you know that the king already knows that Mordecai is the one that favored him, that saved him from death one time when people wanted to plotted against him to poison him. That's why the king in his spirit just said Haman should be hung on that same, inside that same pit that he dug, that same pit that he dug for Mordecai. And that's why you should see that scene when Mordecai was honored publicly. Before that time, Haman had ridiculed and mocked, even it's Mordecai. Now it was now the one that God now used to favor Mordecai. That part, it be like saying, "Make Haman they cry." It's also painful but delightful for me to watch. Like, Haman, in your face now. So the king and Esther, they reconciled, and it was beautiful, and they lived happily ever after. Oh, before that, then Mordecai was now crowned, not like crowns, was now given the royal signet, I think. The position Haman held, Mordecai was now reinstated into it. And when he was now talking to the scribes that were noting down history, writing it in all those scrolls and parchments, then it was now like, and the king elected a new prince general. His name, Mordecai something Abihail. Then that ended, a Jew. It was so profound. I'm having goosebumps slightly. It just shows once again the place of how evil perpetrators, how God uplifts the humble, and how God exalts the humble and appease, take away completely the proud, the prideful people and evil schemers. Esther, One Night to the King is a beautiful, beautiful movie. I recommend you should definitely check it out. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope it blessed you. I hope you found it enjoyable. And I look forward to seeing more faith-based content. And maybe the next thing I'll say after this one is that of Ruth. I don't know. Thank you. Bye. Enjoy.